भगवन् हे राम हे राम हे राम हे राम हमें दया करो। गुरुर ब्रह्मा गुरुर विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वर गुरुर् साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। ओम सिद्धि बुद्धि प्रदे देवी भुक्ति मुक्ति प्रदायिनी मंत्र मूर्ते सदा देवी महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते। श्री गुरु चरण सरोज रज निज मन मुकुर सुधा वरनो रघुबर बिमल यश जोदायक फलचार। बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरो पवन कुमार। बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु क्लेश विकार। सियापति रामचंद्र जी की जय शरणम। हे नाथ मम संकट हरु हरि। बोलिए श्री गजानन स्वामी की जय। बैठ जाइए। We proceed with our chaupais, after which we will follow immediately to the 12 Akshar mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Remember, these chaupais, each one is a Maha mantra in itself. Chanting it, it does something for us. These chaupais are taken from Sri Ramcharitmanas and they are specially blessed, picked out by Gopal Das Swami Ji. प्रवेशी नगर कीजिए सब काज। हृदय रखी कौशलपुर राज। रथ चरिसिया सहित दू भाई। चले बनैय बधई शिर नाई। जाके सुमिरन तेरी पुनाशा। नाम शत्रुहन वेद प्रकाश। विश्व भरण पोषण कर जोई। ताकर नाम भरत अस होई। जब ते राम रामा जब ते राम ब्याही घर आई। नव मंगल मूद बधाई। सखा धर्म में असरथ जाकी। जीतन कहन कहतहूँ रिपु ताकी। जय राम श्री राम, जय राम श्री राम, जय जय राम श्री राम। जय राम जय जय राम राम, जय जय सीता राम, जय जय राम। वह शोभायु समाज सुख, कहत न बने खगेश। वरन शारद शेष सुती, सोरस जान महेश सिया। पति रामचंद्र की जय शरणम। बंदो पवन कुमार, खलबन पावक ज्ञान घना। जसु हृदय आगार, बसे राम शरचाप धर। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो 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 भगवते वासुदेवाय। भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो 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 भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Devotees, as a puja is completed, being completed, we join together simple bhajan. Bhaju man hari harau, sumiro man narayan. The appeal is made to the mind to focus, to visualize, concentrate, meditate upon that Supreme Lord in His various forms, manifestations. Bhaju man hari harau, sumiro man narayan. Bhaju man hari harau, sumiro man narayan. Narayana Hari, Narayana Hari. Bhaju man hari harau, sumiro man narayan. Bhaju man suraj, bhaju man chanda. Bhaju man suraj, bhaju man chanda. Bhaju man pavan sumir, sumiro man narayan. Bhaju man Gauri aur Ganesha. Bhaju man Gauri aur Ganesha. Bhaju man Sati Sanga Shiv, sumiro man narayan. Bhaju man Sita, bhaju man Rama. Bhaju man Radha, bhaju man Shama. Bhaju man Sita, bhaju man Rama. Hanu hanu Hanumat Veer, sumiro man narayan. Bhaju man Tulasi, bhaju man Chandan. Bhaju man Tulasi, bhaju man Chandan. Bhaju man Gavan ke Peer, sumiro man narayan. नारायण हरि नारायण हरि नारायण हरि नारायण हरि भजु मन हरि हरऊ सुमिरु मन नारायण सुमिरु मन नारायण सुमिरु मन नारायण। बोले श्री सत्यनारायण स्वामी की जय।
बोले श्री उमापति महादेव की जय। We glorify Gajanan Swami. जय गणपति वंदन गणनायक, तेरी छवि अति सुंदर सुखदायक, तेरी छवि अति सुंदर सुखदायक। जय गणपति वंदन गणनायक, जय गणपति वंदन गणनायक, तेरी छवि अति सुंदर सुखदायक, तेरी छवि अति सुंदर सुखदायक। जय गणपति वंदन गणनायक, जय गणपति वंदन गणनायक। तू चार भुजाधारी मस्तक सिंदूरी रूप नीराय, है मूषक वाहन तेरो, तू ही जग का रखवाला। तेरी सुंदर मूरत मन, तेरी सुंदर मूरत मन। तू बालक सिद्धि विनायक, तू बालक सिद्धि विनायक। जय गणपति वंदन गणनायक, जय गणपति वंदन गणनायक। मन मंदिर का अंधियारा, तेरे नाम से हो जियारा। तेरे नाम की जोत जली तो मन में बहती सुख धारा। तेरो सुमिरन हर पूजन में, तेरो सुमिरन हर पूजन में। सबसे पहले फलदायक, सबसे पहले फलदायक। जय गणपति वंदन गणनायक, जय गणपति वंदन गणनायक। तेरे नाम को जिसने ध्याया, उस पर रहती सुख छाया मेरे रोम रोम अंतर में, एक तेरा रूप समाया, तेरी महिमा तू ही जाने, तेरी महिमा तू ही जाने। शिव पार्वती के बालक, शिव पार्वती के बालक, जय गणपति वंदन गणनायक, जय गणपति वंदन गणनायक। तेरी छवि अति सुंदर सुखदायक, तेरी छवि अति सुंदर सुखदायक, जय गणपति वंदन गणनायक, जय गणपति वंदन गणनायक, जय गणपति वंदन गणनायक। बोले श्री गजानन स्वामी की जय। We now turn our attention to Devi Ma. मेरा जीवन तेरी शरण, मेरा जीवन तेरी शरण, मेरा जीवन तेरी शरण, हो मेरा जीवन तेरी शरण। सारे राग विराग हुए अब मोह सारे त्याग हुए अब, एक यही मेरा बंधन, मेरा जीवन तेरी शरण, हो मेरा जीवन तेरी शरण। अविरत रहा, अविरत रहा, भटकता अब तक, अविरत रहा, भटकता अब तक, भटकूं और अभी मैं कब तक, भटकूं और अभी मैं कब तक, पालूं केवल तुझको ही माँ, पालूं केवल तुझको ही माँ, एक यही मेरी है लगन, मेरा जीवन तेरी शरण, हो मेरा जीवन तेरी शरण। तेरे चरण परमो अर्पण, तेरे चरण, तेरे चरणों, तेरे चरणों, तेरे चरणों, तेरे चरणों, परमो अर्पण, मेरे जीवन गुण अवगुण मेरे जीवन के गुण अवगुण सारी रथाए दूर करो माँ, सारी रथाए दूर करो माँ। हो कुसुम मेरा नंदन, मेरा जीवन तेरी शरण। हो मेरा जीवन तेरी शरण। सारे राग विराग हुए अब, मोह सारा त्याग हुए अब। एक यही मेरा बंधन, मेरा जीवन तेरी शरण। हो मेरा जीवन तेरी शरण। हो मेरा जीवन तेरी शरण। बोले श्री आदिशक्ति दुर्गा माता की। And now we focus on Bhagwan Shankar. जय शिव शंकर जय गंगाधर, करुणा कर करतार हरे। जय शिव शंकर जय गंगाधर, जय शिव शंकर जय गंगाधर, करुणा कर करतार हरे। जय शिव शंकर जय गंगाधर, करुणा कर करतार हरे। जय शिव शंकर जय गंगाधर, करुणा कर करतार हरे। जय कैलाशी जय अविनाशी, सुख राशि सुख सार हरे। जय शिव शंकर जय गंगाधर। जय शशि शेखर जय दमरूधर, जय जय प्रेमागार हरे। जय त्रिपुरारी जय मदहारी, अमित अनंत अपार हरे। जय शिव शंकर जय गंगाधर, करुणा कर करतार हरे। जय शिव शंकर जय गंगाधर। जय रामेश्वर जय रामेश्वर, जय नागेश्वर वैद्यनाथ केदार हरे। जय रामेश्वर जय नागेश्वर वैद्यनाथ केदार हरे काशीपति श्री विश्वनाथ जय मृत्युंजय अविकार हरे जय शिव शंकर जय गंगाधर करुणाकर करतार हरे जय कैलाशी जय विनाशी सुख राशि सुख सार हरे जय शिव शंकर जय गंगाधर करुणाकर करतार हरे जय शिव शंकर जय गंगाधर जय शिव शंकर जय गंगाधर जय शिव शंकर जय गंगाधर। बोले श्री उमापति महादेव की जय। And we briefly glorify Prabhu Sri Ram. Jai Raghunandan Jai Siya Ram Jai Raghunandan Jai Siya Ram जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम जानकी वल्लभ तुम्हें प्रणाम जानकी वल्लभ तुम्हें प्रणाम जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम 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 जानकी वल्लभ तुम्हें प्रणाम जानकी वल्लभ तुम्हें प्रणाम जानकी वल्लभ तुम्हें प्रणाम जानकी वल्लभ तुम्हें प्रणाम जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम। बोल श्री राजा रामचंद्र की। Today, devotees, we continue with our targeted study of the Sri Ramcharitamanas. Today we are on page 464, Aranyakand, and we are going to look at just one chaupai and again try to analyze it and extract some lessons to improve the quality of our lives. As we normally do, we will sing the chaupai together. Then we will look at the translation and then dig a little deeper into the meaning. We are looking at the chaupai that begins Ek bar chuni kusuma suhai. Okay? So, let's sing together. एक बार चुनी कुसुम सुहाए, एक बार चुनी कुसुम सुहाए, निज कर भूषण राम बनाए, निज कर भूषण राम बनाए, सीता ही पहिराए, सीता ही पहिराए प्रभु सादर, सीता ही पहिराए प्रभु सादर, बैठे फटिक, बैठे फटिक शिला पर सुंदर, बैठे फटिक शिला पर सुंदर, जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम, जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम, श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम, श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम. This chaupai refers to a very simple action of Prabhu Sri Ram that we need to analyze. So, as the translation goes, one day Sri Ram plucked some lovely flowers and with his own hands wove them together into ornaments of several kinds, meaning, little malas like we normally do, little decorative items, with which he reverently decked Sita Devi as he proceeded to sit on a beautiful crystal rock. So here we have this simple action of Prabhu Sri Ram, where for his wife, Sita Devi, he plucked some flowers, created some nice things. He used what he had there in the forest to give her something quite beautiful. And it illustrates the wonderful relationship here between both Sri Ram and Sita Devi. Now, what can we take from this? In society today, as you can see, problems between people abound. And for those of you who follow what's going on in the news, especially locally, you would see that almost every day, every 2 days, a lady ends up dead. A man would kill his wife in front of his children. You would see domestic violence being portrayed. You see couples breaking up on a daily basis. So, what are we to learn, or how are we to operate in the relationships that we have, specifically here now, the relationships between couples, husband and wife? So some of you here are young, not yet married, you may be in a relationship. Some of you may be married for a few years. I myself will be making 20 years this year. And some of you may be married quite a long time, still together, And again, some of you may be separated from each other. Okay? Now, I think the key thing here is, normally when you hear scriptures, you hear how the female is supposed to behave. But if you look at society, who is really perpetrating all of these things? Violence, aggression. Who is it? Is it the woman? In very few cases, maybe. Is it the children? They are children, definitely not. So in my mind, the problem with society today largely lies with men. And I'm saying this, being a man myself, I can guarantee you that. And what I'm going to say or put forward over, I wouldn't be able to complete this week, maybe next 1 or 2 weeks. It's really for men and women to understand too, but really with men we have a problem. And in large part, fathers, men have failed society. We are lucky we are still going on due to the actions of women, females. But men, I was having an interesting discussion with my wife one day. I was asking, look at war, for example. Do you ever know of a country that is led by a woman that engaged in war with anybody else? Try to invade, try to take over, try to grab power? Normally when things go wrong in the world, it's normally some man somewhere in a leadership position trying to grab onto power, trying to do something. Okay? So clearly there's a problem with men. And what we need to do, of course, and unfortunately, men are least likely to take the message. Why? Well, as I'll explain a bit, men are, predominantly ego-driven, and it's very difficult to bring about change. You would find a female, a girl, a woman, a wife, a sister, daughter, would listen and try to maybe change. But you try to tell a man something, both you and I know what happens. Immediate reaction, anger, a wall put up. And this is not, a single case. This is a general observation. Of course, you have some men in between who are different. But in large part, I'm speaking about men exhibit certain characteristics, psychology, and women exhibit certain characteristics and psychology. So, by the action of Sri Ram here, I want to use that as a starting point to show how men are supposed to treat women. We all have heard over and over how women are supposed to treat men. Oh, we've heard that a lot. But you don't really hear how men are supposed to treat women. And in society today, that is the problem, isn't it? That is the problem. So, both sides here in a relationship, you always have two parties. Both are responsible. But it is important for men to understand women, how they think, and it's important for women to understand men and how they think. And so, in that way, you can work together. Now, let me start at the very beginning to say that, again, in Sanatan Dharma, what is the basis for marriage? Or more broadly, a relationship, a love-type relationship. What is the basis? And as I mentioned before, in the wedding ceremony, we have these 7 steps that the bride and bridegroom take together. And it is said, Sakha Saptapadi Bhava. It means that with these 7 steps, you have become my Sakha, friend. Okay? So the basis of this relationship is really friendship. Friendship. So you have to ask yourself, is my partner my true friend? That's the first thing. Another example is in the Mahabharata, for example. Yudhishthir was asked, who is the friend of a householder? And the answer is, the friend of a householder is his spouse or her spouse. Okay? So, the relationships are based on one, friendship. And taking things a step further, the basic principle in Sanatana Dharma is ahimsa. So we all say ahimsa, yes. And you probably think is you don't want to go on the road and fight anybody. That is not ahimsa per se. Ahimsa means not causing pain willfully to anybody, but more so not causing pain to those immediately around you. Because if relationships are based on friendship, and we all believe in ahimsa, then how come then we have so much verbal abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, and sexual abuse? How come? So in my mind, it makes no sense, you sit down and you pray to Sri Ram and this and that, but you live in all how. You don't understand your own actions, what are you doing, what you're really doing, right? So here we're going to look at now, what is the foundation for a good relationship? So there's a rule in education. You don't start off telling people what's bad. You say what's good, right? And then as I move on, maybe next time, I will deal with the specific psychology of abuse, domestic violence, and how to deal with it. Because in general, most people, to be honest with you, don't know what they're doing. And so we will use, scriptures, but also research and put everything together to have a nice framework, how we should really deal with abuse. And in most cases, it's against women and children. Okay? All right. So we start at this point. Someone asked me recently, do I have to get married? That's a good question. Do you? Do you have to get married? Now, all of this business about soulmates, this, that, and the other, all those things, that's not Sanatana Dharma. Basically, from the view of Sanatana Dharma, you are complete and perfect as you are. Okay? So let me make that point. Now, and I'll also make it clear that this is my view. Anybody you speak to will have their own views, and you have your relationships, with your teacher, your guru, whatever. That is fine. This is just my view, because it makes sense to me. Everybody is fine on their own. You choose to enter into a relationship based on your own desires. If you feel that the world depends on you to have a family and children, well, you could feel that, but you'll know that the world doesn't depend on anybody or anything. It will continue chugging on. So, really and truly, you get into a relationship because of your own human need for companionship, that desire that you want. Not so? If you were to ask yourself, those of you who are married, why did you get married? Why? And in that state of love, you don't really have a logical answer, do you? You wanted to. You wanted to be with this person, and so you go. Okay? Now, my view is currently, and remember I'm dealing with current situation, it is always better to be by yourself than to enter into a really bad relationship. That is my view. Okay? So the thing is that we don't know really this person we are getting involved with until we start to live with them. So there are many cases where people fall in love, they get married. Marriage is good for the first 2 years. But then you have the first incident where, something happens, the man gets angry, and then you have an incident of domestic violence. Right? So you hit your partner, or you verbally abuse your partner. You blame your partner. Okay? So the question is, we're not really sure, and unfortunately I don't have a definitive answer for you. If you believe in karma, again I'm not telling you what to believe, but believing in karma is a useful way to think. But we have this distorted idea of karma where, okay, it's my karma and I just have to deal with it. And as I mentioned before, no. Karma puts you in the situation, but what you do in the situation is your choice. Guru Vashisht said that to Prabhu Sri Ram. It is your choice, your effort. So you do have a choice what to do. Now, if we say the basis of relationships really is love, there are two ways you could deal with love. If you go outside, let me use an example, and you see a beautiful flower. Oh, it's very beautiful, you appreciate it. You can do one of two things. You can either go and clip that flower, put it inside to look nice. So you take it from its environment, you put it there to make yourself happy. The alternative action is to look at the flower in its environment, appreciate its beauty, but in a sense, leave it on its own. It is a flower. So you just look at it, you know. And I mean, at a certain point, you could even look, all of these things we take and offer to God, even flowers that we pick. You know, in my view, after a while, we're picking all these things from its natural environment as human beings, putting it for God. And I mean, yes, that is good. But if you look at the flower as it is in its natural environment, isn't that the most beautiful? What we are doing is plucking it from where it is and putting it somewhere else. That's our own ego, isn't it? So what's the best offering that we could make? In my mind, the best offering is to leave things as they are, help them grow, support, but don't grab, pull, pluck, break away, take away. Okay? Ahimsa. You're not causing pain or injury to anything, to anybody. So, true love then is based on what? Unfortunately, most people enter relationships based on selfishness. Okay? Right, Andy Sandy? So you got married, why? You don't have to answer. But, you know, this person becomes your partner, your friend, and you enter that relationship. And those who go through life with their relationships being more or less selfless, it's not about me having somebody. It's not about me controlling somebody. You know, some men want to get married to have a cook and a washerwoman and a whatever. That is not what it is about. That is distribution of responsibility. But true love really is based on selflessness, seeing the other person as a friend. And so you develop together. And this is the key to long-lasting relationships. And by long-lasting relationships, you can have a long-lasting relationships, but that doesn't mean the relationship is good, you know. People might stay together, but we're talking about good relationships, beneficial to both parties. Now, we address the question of what people want in a partner. What do you want in a partner? Okay? So those of you looking young, those of you already married, this is good to reflect upon. Most men and women would like the following 5 characteristics in a partner. 1, you want somebody who is kind. Kindness. So before you get married, you know, anything the lady wants or anything the boy wants, you run out and you get it and you do it and whatnot. But after you get married, somehow or the other, that kindness goes away and you become harsh. You know, you don't want to do things. So you forget that. That kindness doesn't remain. So what's the sense you're kind to people outside, you're doing charity, and those in your own home, your spouse, whoever else, that kindness isn't there. That is number 1. Number 2 is an exciting personality, meaning that when you want a partner, you don't want somebody who will just listen to you. You want somebody who you could converse with, who is somehow on the same, you know, intellectual level, where you could help each other out, talk about different things, you know, have different points of view, that is fine. But you need to have this exciting personality. If you're looking for somebody, you know, just to be quiet and listen to you, say a man is looking for a wife, you know, sometimes they put out these ads, man looking for woman, must be very quiet, must be able to cook, right? People put out ads like this, right? Well, in that case, you better get married to a stone or something, because it wouldn't talk back to you. But most people want this exciting personality to deal with. The third thing is intelligence. So what is the sense here? You know, you get in a relationship with somebody and they just can't understand you, or you speak on different levels. So matching the level of intelligence, right, education is important. So because you need to be able to understand each other. You're not just there to physically keep each other company, okay? The fourth is understanding. So not only am I in a relationship with you, you know, for relationship's sake, but I want you to understand me, understand where I'm coming from, understand my strengths, understand my weaknesses as well. And the fifth point or quality is someone who loves them in return. So, you know, one-sided relationships, A girl might like a boy real bad, but he, all right, okay, couldn't care less. So you want this, mutual exchange of this love. And these are the 5 things that people want in a partner. Now, we go on to how do we demonstrate love in relationships? What do we do? I mentioned some time ago about, there was a nice book written called The 5 Love Languages. And basically they are speaking words of affirmation, spending quality time with each other, giving and receiving gifts. Yes, some of the ladies smiling, because women in general like giving and receiving gifts. Well, a secret is men too, Okay. Acts of service to each other, helping each other out, and physical touch, in a loving way, not in a hurtful way. So again, going back to Sri Ram and what he did, look at how he treated Sita Devi. To go to the forest, he tried to get her to remain. They all tried to get her to remain. She said, no, I'm going with my husband. During that entire time there, everything he did was to protect her, right? To protect her, to take care of her, to fulfill his responsibility, the word that he gave. And that is his way of doing service as well, his dharma, his duty. So we have these 5 love languages that we practice. And I think that is clear with everybody. So now I go on to men versus women. So what's the problem then? How come we have so many problems? I started off by saying the psychology of men and the psychology of women are different. How are they different? So now I'll go into some detail. I'll start off by this statement. Listen to it carefully. Women need to do something to feel good, whereas men need to feel good to do something. Let me say that again. Women need to do something to feel good in general, but men need to feel good to do something. So as I'm speaking, think of your own relationships, right? And ladies, if you have trouble getting your husband to do his responsibilities, try to pick up little strategies here. I don't have time to speak in detail on each one, but you think for yourself how you could apply this. Because if the man is not feeling good, or feeling good about himself, he's not going to do anything. On the other hand, ladies need to do something to actually feel good. So by the activity itself, they get this sense of, self-worth, accomplishment, etc. Now, today, I will just deal with values and self-esteem as adults between men and women. So listen carefully. Men, first of all. A man's sense of self is really defined by his ability to achieve, to get success, accomplishment. And by this I mean worldly accomplishment. To make money, to build a home, to get something done. This is a major thing for a man, for his sense of self. So a man's self-esteem, in general, could be said to be more career-related. See if you can identify. For men, doing things by themselves, they achieve something on their own, as I said, they are more ego-driven. They feel good because a man is the provider. He's the head of the household. So, power, competence, these things appeal to a man. And in general, men are more interested in objects and things, accomplishments, than in people and feelings, in general. Yeah? Now, men rarely talk about their problems, unless, they go to some expert. Because a man doesn't like to ask anybody for help in general, because he feels it is a sign of weakness. A man must be able to know. So ladies, listen carefully. This is how a man thinks in general. He doesn't like to ask for help. And when you volunteer help, he doesn't like it either. So you better hold on till he asks for it. Okay? Now, men are more aggressive than women, more combative, more territorial. So you say something and a man will immediately get angry, fight for his territory, want to put up walls. This is by nature. This is how a man behaves. And what will devastate a man? Financial setbacks, failure, job loss. Look at what's going on in society right now. People losing jobs all over. Men can't provide for their families. clearly there's a huge mental health fallout from this, because men all around are feeling devastated. So either a man will take it out on somebody, or he takes it out on himself, okay? But men in general can't deal with this. It becomes very, very difficult for them. So men hate to ask for information, for help, because it shows they're a failure. So imagine you being a man. Some of you men imagine you being a man, and these things are going through you, but you feel you can't talk to anybody about it. You can't talk to your wife even about it. Why? Because she will perceive you as being a failure. So this is how men now become locked up within themselves. And at some point, when you put pressure inside a vessel, it is going to explode. Okay? Now let's look at women. What do women value? In contrast to men, in stark contrast to men, women value love, communication, relationships, feelings, beauty. So for women, personal expression is very important. So you like to talk about feelings, you like to dress nicely. These things are important to you, and that is fine. Don't let any man trivialize that for you, because that is how your brain works, okay? But communication really is important. So as opposed to the man who keeps things inside, ladies like to talk about their feelings. So you see the problem starting to form right there. A woman's sense of self is defined through their feelings and the quality of their relationships. So really the so-called, objects and career and whatnot, yes, important to a degree, but not as important as relationships, their feelings, how people treat them. And for women, offering help is not a sign of weakness, but it is a sign of strength. It is a sign of caring, to give support. So a man doesn't want help unless he asks for it, but a lady now wants to offer help. Always. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how you feel. So you see a problem arising right there. Women are very concerned in general about their own physical, looks, attractiveness, about getting older, again, which is understandable. And when men are preoccupied with work, money, career, women interpret it as being rejection. So here we have a setup between men and women where men exhibit this closed kind of psychology, being worldly minded, ego driven, and women being emotionally driven, the need for communication, the need to talk about feelings. And now you could see, if we don't understand each other, why we have so many clashes. A lady would go to her husband and say, "Tell me what's wrong." "Nothing wrong with me. I good. Everything under control." The communication there is broken because they don't understand the needs of each other. On the converse, a lady would come to her husband and say, "So-and-so is worrying me." And the man would say, "Don't worry, I'll fix that." Or "Let's do so-and-so." And this, in general, is a mistake, because most times, ladies are not asking men to fix their problems. They just want you to listen. Isn't that true? Most times, they don't want you to fix anything. They just want you to listen, to understand. So we have this problem here in between. And if it's not well understood, the relationship between men and women, then it could lead to problems. And in the worst case scenarios, this gap, I would call it, between the psychology of men and women leads to things like, domestic violence and whatever else, which I will deal with at another time. That requires a katha by itself. Okay? So, the differences, basically, men tend to be more logical, analytical, rational, whereas women are more holistic, integrative about their feelings. And men somehow are more at ease with their own angry feelings than women are. So if a man is angry, he would, keep it inside and try to deal with it in his own way or lash out. Whereas a woman would tend to want to discuss it, talk about it, talk to multiple people, talk about how she's feeling. And that's how she will deal with it. Okay? So we have I hope, a kind of clear understanding of the differences between how men think and how women think. And therefore, devotees, conflicts arise. Conflicts. So what's the most frequent complaint that men have on women and women have on men? Do you know? The most frequent. Now, what I'm telling you here is not just what I think. This is, based on studies looking at many couples over in different countries, etc. Right? What's the major complaint? The most frequent complaint men have about women is women are always trying to change them. Most frequent complaint. And what's the most frequent complaint women have about men? Men don't listen. Now you can see how it's making sense? I explained the psychology and now I'm talking about the top complaints between men and women in relationships. Women always trying to change men. Men don't want to change. I mean, you could change him, but don't tell them not changing you, because you're going to get reactions. And women find that men just don't listen. So you want to talk about your problems, but the man wants to solve it and this, and he wants to tell you what to do. Women don't want that. I've realized this. I've realized this. So some experience talking too, right? So initially a man's reaction is, I will solve everything for you, I'll take care of it, or let me tell you what to do. If you want to just have your spouse or woman totally mentally block you out, tell her, I will tell you what to do. She don't want you to tell her what to do. She wants you to listen and empathize. So, we're getting into the realm of what's known as emotional intelligence here, which, sadly to say, a lot of men don't have. Emotional intelligence means understanding how you are thinking and feeling. And not negating your feelings, but understand what you're going through. Okay? So, the conflicts that arise are due to these main things. So, women want empathy, men want to offer solutions. Okay? And what I'm saying is that, this is one, today I'll just focus on this one major sticking point that we need to address. So, men often try to change a woman's mood by offering solutions to the problem, and she interprets this as discounting and invalidating her feelings. So what to do about it? What to do about it? So now that you have some knowledge, again in your relationships, when you have discussions with each other, don't, jump to talk and say anything. The first thing I think both parties need to do is listen. So now you understand, ladies, you understand roughly where men are coming from, and men, you understand roughly where ladies are coming from. And remember, the responsibility is on both of you, though I feel now men need more work. So what to do? When you have to discuss with each other, first of all, don't get nasty. Remember ahimsa, remember friendship is the basis of your relationship, whatever may happen. Secondly, what you need to do is, men, don't start talking at the start. Don't start offering solutions. You stay quiet and listen. Just go yes and keep your mouth closed. It might be difficult for you, but try it. Don't start talking off the bat. You stay quiet and listen. If you do want to say something after, your spouse, the female, offloads and says how she's feeling, then in return, you could ask now, all right, well, do you want me to offer any solutions, or are you okay just talking about it? Just try that. Just try that alone and see if the quality of your relationships would change. And what you can do is, if a female is in a state emotionally, don't offer a solution right away. Give it a few days until she calms down, and then you could discuss solutions together. So I'm not saying don't provide solutions, I'm just saying know when to provide it. Okay? So let me just wrap up here with this one, technique. We know there are problems with relationships everywhere, and everybody needs counseling. Whether you're young, you're in a relationship, you're married, you're older, everybody could improve. The day you feel you know everything is the day you stop learning. Always remember that. And we can all learn. We can all improve. So understand that men and women think differently. They have different psychological needs. As demonstrated by Sri Ram here, express your love in the ways I mentioned, the 5 different ways, But importantly now, when it comes to conflict and how to deal with it, as I said, women want to be listened to first of all, and men should learn to, listen first and then offer solutions. On the other hand, females, ladies, you mustn't try to change men just like that. If you want to change, you could discuss it, but have a discussion. A man will take your constructive criticism if he's receptive to it, but he wouldn't take it if you come at him like that all the time. Don't blame him. Don't blame him, right? You try to talk and discuss and slowly introduce ideas that could help, and with time there would be uptake. But if you come out with guns blazing, well, you're just going to kill people, right? You're just shooting. And that is not what we want. So take this as the first lesson, the first step in understanding the differences between men and women in relationships, the psychology. And as we go along in subsequent weeks, I would address different issues that would be beneficial to everybody in this context. Okay? So at this point here, I would conclude. Bole Sri Rajaram Chandra ki Jai.
Make provision for the Havan one time. The devotees will join together in a simple kirtanam as we make preparations for the final Havan. Today is Ganesh Chaut. Some of you may be aware. A bit later today, that Tithi is finishing, is going to conclude. But it's auspicious. So we have been mentioned Ganesh Bhagwan is the Lord of Wisdom. He blesses us, as we say, with the right insight, right understanding as to what we should do. We discriminate, differentiate. On Ganesh Chaut, it's auspicious to fast and seek the blessings of that aspect of divinity. But remember, it is actually awakening that power of discernment within the mind, within us. So we concentrate on Gajanan. We glorify him for a few moments. Om Mahaganapati Namostute Matanga Mukhe Namostute Shivagiri Jasute Namostute Omkarishwar Namostute Om Mahaganapati Namostute Om Mahaganapati Namostute Matanga Mukha Namostute Matanga Mukha Namostute Matanga Mukha Namostute Matanga Mukha Namostute Om Mahaganapati Namostute Om Mahaganapati Namostute Mahaganapati Namostute Shivagiri Jasute 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 Namostute Omkarishwar Namostute Omkarishwar Namostute Omkarishwar Namostute Omkarishwar Namostute Om Mahaganapati Namostute Om Mahaganapati Namostute मातङ्गमुख नमोस्तुते मातङ्गमुख नमोस्तुते शिवगिरिजासुत नमोस्तुते शिवगिरिजासुत नमोस्तुते हे शिवगिरिजासुत नमोस्तुते शिवगिरिजासुत नमोस्तुते हे शिवगिरिजासुत नमोस्तुते शिवगिरिजासुत नमोस्तुते ओंकारेश्वर नमोस्तुते ओंकारेश्वर नमोस्तुते ओंकारेश्वर नमोस्तुते ओंकारेश्वर नमोस्तुते ओम महागणपति नमोस्तुते ओम महागणपति नमोस्तुते ओम महागणपति नमोस्तुते ओम महागणपति नमोस्तुते हे गौरी गणेश उमा महेश शिवनंदन गणपति गणेश गौरी गणेश उमा महेश शिवनंदन गणपति गणेश हे गौरी गणेश उमा महेश शिवनंदन गणपति गणेश गौरी गणेश उमा महेश शिवनंदन गणपति गणेश शरणं 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 गणेश पार्वती नंदन सिद्धि गणेश पार्वती नंदन सिद्धि गणेश शिवनंदन गणपति गणेश शिवनंदन गणपति गणेश ओ शरणं गणेश शिवनंदन गणपति गणेश शरणं गणेश गणपति गणेश शरणं गणेश पार्वती नंदन सिद्धि गणेश शरणं गणेश पार्वती नंदन सिद्धि गणेश गणपति गणेश गणपति गणेश गणपति गणेश ओ गणपति गणेश गणपति गणेश बोले श्री गजानन स्वामी की जय।
We join together in our final Havan. Om Sriman Mahaganadhipatiye Swaha. Om Sri Gauri Mata Swaha. Om Sri Prithvi Mata Swaha. Om Sri Panchlokpal Devaye Swaha. Om Hrim Srim Chandikaye Namaha Swaha. Om Aim Hrim Klim Chamundaye Viche Swaha. Om Hrim Srim Lakshmi Bhyo Namaha Swaha. Om Srim Hrim Saraswatye Swaha. Om Krim Kalyai Namaha Swaha. Om Sri Tara Devi Swaha. Om Sri Tripura Sundari Devi Swaha. Om Sri Bhuvaneshwari Devi Swaha. Om Sri Tripura Bhairavi Devi Swaha. Om Sri Chinamasta Devi Swaha. Om Sri Dhumavati Devi Swaha. Om Sri Bagla Mukhi Devi Swaha. Om Sri Matangi Devi Swaha. Om Sri Kamala Devi Swaha. Om Sri Swaha Mata Bhyo Namo Namaha Swaha. Om Sri Naudurga Mata Bhyo Namo Namaha Swaha. Om Hrim Shashti Devyai Bhyo Namo Namaha Swaha. Om Namah Shivaya Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Narayanaya Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Swaha. Om Sri Sitaramachandraya Bhyo Namo Namaha Swaha. Om Sri Radha Krishnaya Bhyo Namo Namaha Swaha. Om Sri Hum Hanumate Namaha Swaha. Om Sri Aditya Devaya Swaha. Om Sri Chandra Devaya Swaha. Om Sri Mangal Devaya Swaha. Om Sri Buddha Devaya Swaha. ओम श्री बृहस्पति देवाय स्वाहा, ओम श्री शुक्र देवाय स्वाहा, ओम श्री शनि देवाय स्वाहा, ओम श्री राहवे नमः स्वाहा, ओम श्री केतवे नमः स्वाहा, ओम श्री अगिनदेवाय स्वाहा, ओम श्री इष्टदेवाय स्वाहा, ओम श्री कुलदेवाय स्वाहा, ओम श्री अस्थानदेवाय स्वाहा, ओम श्री वास्तुदेवाय स्वाहा, ओम सर्वदेवता सर्वदेवीभ्यो नमो नमः स्वाहा, ओम श्री अनंत स्वरूपाय ब्रह्मणे नमः स्वाहा, ओम श्री गुरुवेभ्यो नमः स्वाहा। Please all stand, devotees. Om Namah Shambhavaya Cha Mayubhavaya Cha, Om Namah Shankaraya Cha Mayaskaraya Cha, Om Namah Shivaya Cha Shivtaraya Cha, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Purnamidah Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Sarvam Vai Purnavam Swaha. Om Sarva Papaharang Divyam Gangyam Nirmalam Jalam Achmanang Chammaya Dattam Grihitam Purushotamaha Achmanyam Samarpayami Sri Agindevaye Namo Namaha. We join in our final arati.
Om Jai Jagadish Hare, Swami Jai Jagadish Hare. Bhakt janon ke sankat, das janon ke sankat, chhan mein dur kare. Om Jai Jagadish Hare. जो ध्यावे फल पावे, दुख दिन से मन का, स्वामी दुख दिन से मन का। सुख संपत्ति घर आवे, सुख संपत्ति घर आवे, कष्ट मिटे तन का। ओम जय जगदीश हरे। मात पिता तुम मेरे, शरण कहो किसकी, स्वामी शरण कहो किसकी। तुम बिन और न दूजा, प्रभु बिन और न दूजा, आश करो जिसकी। ओम जय जगदीश हरे। तुम पूरन परमात्मा, तुम अंतर्यामी, स्वामी तुम अंतर्यामी। पार ब्रह्म परमेश्वर, पार ब्रह्म परमेश्वर, तुम सबके स्वामी। ओम जय जगदीश हरे। तुम करुणा के सागर, तुम पालन करता, स्वामी तुम पालन करता। दीन दयालु कृपालु, दीन दयालु स्वामी पाप हरो देवा श्रद्धा भक्ति बढ़ाओ श्रद्धा भक्ति बढ़ाओ संतन की सेवा ओम जय जगदीश हरे ओम जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी जय जगदीश हरे भक्त जनों के संकट दास जनों के संकट क्षण में दूर करे ओम जय जगदीश हरे ओम जय जगदीश हरे ओम जय जगदीश हरे
We join in closing prayer. शिव हरे शिव राम सखे प्रभु त्रिविधताप निवारण हे विभु अज जनेश्वर यादव पाहि मां शिव हरे विजयं कुरु मे वरं शिव हरे विजयं कुरु मे वरं प्रतिदिनं कुशलं जय मङ्गलं प्रतिदिनं कुशलं जय मङ्गलम् ॐ मङ्गलं भगवान् विष्णु मङ्गलं गरुडध्वज मङ्गलं पुण्डरीकाक्ष मङ्गलायतनो हरे मङ्गलं भगवान् विष्णु मङ्गलं गरुडध्वज मङ्गलं गरुडध्वज मङ्गलं गरुडध्वज ॐ मन्त्रहीनं क्रियाहीनं भक्तिहीनं जनार्दनं यत् पूजितं मया देवा परिपूर्णं तदस्तु ॐ असतो मा सत्गमय ॐ तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय ॐ मृत्युर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देवदेव ॐ शान्ति 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 हरि ओम। हर हर महादेव, हर हर महादेव, हर हर महादेव। बोले श्री गजानन स्वामी की जय, आदिशक्ति दुर्गा माता की जय, उमापति महादेव की जय। बोले श्री सत्य सनातन धर्म की जय, बोले श्री स्वाहा माता की जय। So devotees this morning, let me say firstly blessings to Auntie Sandy who sat for puja. Okay, she informed me it was for her belated birthday, so let's all wish Auntie Sandy a very happy birthday. And on behalf of Gyanipak, all the best to you. So that is why Uncle Jai is here today, supporting for the birthday. Okay. All right, good. So congratulations again on behalf of all of us at Gyanipak, and we wish you all the best and many more years to come. Secondly, let me say this morning, devotees' blessings to Ishwar Dokran, who came, Dharam was unavailable this morning. And Ishwar, let me say blessings for coming to fill in. And of course, a good job as usual. He played the PA and tabla, so we are grateful for you, grateful to you. Finally, devotees, you would have seen that we have some lifting of restrictions. So from next week, Sunday, the temple would be, allowed full capacity, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. So that you would see the announcements on the Facebook page and whatnot, but devotees, of course, are all welcome now to come to temple. All you have to do is make sure to keep your masks and, of course, vaccinated. That is important. And remember, we have this rule because it's for your own protection. You being unvaccinated doesn't do anything to anybody else. If you happen to get sick, the consequences could be dire for you. So we encourage you to get vaccinated, and pretty soon I believe vaccines for children will be here as well. So you can feel comfortable, and if you are not comfortable, that's okay as well. We still have our live broadcast going on that you could look at on Facebook, YouTube, and on IETV as well. So that is available to you. So let me say blessings to everybody, and we hope to see all of you next week as we continue with service. Jai Sitaram.